Hi, bitch besties. It's your main bitch, Melly. Thank you so much for tuning in and welcome to another episode of the Judgy Bitch Pod. Hi, Marta. Welcome to the Judgy Bitch Pod.
Hello. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm so glad you came on to do this with me. This is going to be a heavy episode as we're talking deep conversations. You agreed to kindly share your experiences with me, but just a little trigger warning for my bitch besties out there who are listening to us. This is going to be a deep episode, so be prepared. Feel free to fast forward sections that might go too deep for you, but I'm very, very grateful that you came on and do this with me. And please tell my bitch besties how you and I know each other.
Well, we met on TikTok. We met through both of our mental health niches, I guess. Both have that in common. So you reached out to me and we kind of just flowed with each other. You're easy to talk to and you can relate. Yeah, I was glad that you did. So yeah, that was neat.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's right. And your TikTok is called The Healing Coven. How did you come up with that name?
Well, honestly, me and my son, I was asking him, I'm like, what could I use it to kind of tie in like healing and grounding, spirituality, things like that in with mental health. And that's kind of what we came up with. So it was just kind of a combination of the spiritual part and then the mental health part. Yeah.
I love that. And that's how I found you on TikTok and I started following you. And eventually I reached out and asked you if you would come on to do an episode with me on mental health and mental disorders. And that's why I said this is going to be a deep episode. It might be triggering to some people, but we'll see how it goes. And just a disclaimer, you and I, we're not professionals. We're not doctors. We are not psychiatrists. We just speak from our own experiences.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And you were so kind and you agreed to share your story with me and the bitch besties. Do you mind telling us what's going on currently? What have you been diagnosed with?
Well, just at the beginning of this year, it didn't really begin at the beginning of the year, but I kind of asked my doctor to address it because my mental health I felt was declining more rapid than it ever had in the past. Like before, I would kind of fall into like the dissociation, depression, just feeling I had no energy and I didn't really feel like doing nothing really. And it wasn't being lazy. It was I just had no, I can't even explain it. It's just mental, physical, everything exhaustion. So I had asked my doctor, I really need to find out what's going on with me because in 23, my husband, he was an addict, which he had recovered. And, I had found out that he had, been failing for marijuana, which I wasn't even aware of at the time. We lost our home and our cars and I basically was in my Jeep. And he decided going to leave. And so he left and went and stayed with his parents, which they didn't offer for me to go or anything. I tried to reach out to him multiple times while he was gone. I slept in my Jeep from July of 23 until December. I did work. The whole time that I slept in my vehicle, I had a job. I worked full time. I went to the YMCA to get showers. I just did everything I could. I finally got an apartment in December of that year, and I had reached out to his parents to say, how is he doing? Has he relapsed? Is he in jail? What's going on? And had no replies back. So after Christmas, January 1st, actually, I thought I'd look on the internet and see, hopefully he's in jail because that would keep him off of the drugs, which it did get. People say that drugs are all over prison, which I get, but he was clean that whole time because he had been drug tested and everything. So I knew he was keeping his part, but after he left, he had always told me that if I leave, I'm going to get back on it. So when I got on the internet, I searched his name and his obituary popped up. His family didn't reach out. They didn't tell me he passed away. They didn't tell me when his funeral was. So he had passed away December 16th. The 16th of this month
Mhm.
will be 2 years. And
Yeah.
I found out he was buried on December 27th, and I didn't find out until 3 days after that he had died. So after that, I kind of went into a depression that I have never felt in my life. I know it was grief, but it was also, and I know you're going to probably look at me and be like, what's wrong with this woman? But I had been married.
I'm not.
I had been married previous, and we were together for 10 years, and we were young when we got married. We were 18, and I had found out
Mhm.
about halfway through our marriage that he had been doing drugs as well. So
Mhm.
after about 9 years of marriage, I finally said, I can't do this anymore. I'm done. I just can't do it. And
Mhm.
he left, which was the first time I had been threatened our whole marriage, saying, if you leave, I'm going to do this and that. And he was very abusive.
I think that, yeah.
Yeah, my kids
Mm.
remember, even to this day, they're 30, and like the oldest ones are 30 years old and in their 20s, and they still remember things that their dad did to me.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I live with that because I know if I would have just left, I could have spared all of that. But now I can't change it. But I can say, hey, I
Mm.
realize that was a mistake, but I can't change it. But anyways, I'll fast
Mm.
forward. He left, and then 4 months later, he committed suicide. So I dealt with
Mhm.
him. Well, we weren't living together. Someone else had found him. It was actually a friend of ours found him.
Mhm.
So I went through his death, but we had 4 kids. I had to take care of them, and I had to try to make everything normal. Everybody just kept telling me, keep things normal for the kids. And that's what I did. I guess I tucked everything back into my head and my brain. I just masked it, and I just went on with my life.
That was the first husband, right?
Yeah. And then I just
Yeah.
buried it. I buried it, and I went on
Mhm.
with my life, and I never dealt with it. Well, I think when my husband uh passed away in 23, I think it opened a lot of old wounds that I
I
didn't
can see that.
realize they were there. Yeah,
Mhm.
and this year, well, last year, and then the beginning of this year, I just started just falling apart. And even now, I'm
Yeah.
still trying to learn how to cope with it and how to come to terms with it. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's crazy. I know it sounds
What did
crazy.
he pass from? Do you know the cause of his death?
Yeah, he was living with his parents at the time. Um,
Yeah.
and they told me that he had OD'd.
Mm.
So I guess his drug of choice was heroin. But I guess when he
Mm.
left, he started doing other stuff, which he had, I guess, done in the past before we were together. And I've never tried any of it. I have never been in that situation of being an addict. I've always been on the other
Yeah.
side of the addict. I've been the one watching
Mhm.
it and trying to prevent it, but I guess his parents had more faith in him than they should, because addicts, you have to really watch. I know it sounds bad, but you have to really watch and be
Mm.
aware of what is going on with them. And there was things that they didn't even know was going on, because I was getting mail because he was putting our address on stuff he was doing. Um,
Mm.
our old address that we lived at, and it was getting forwarded to me. So I was finding out he was
Mm.
pawning things, and the address he was giving
Mm.
them was that one, since we didn't live there anymore, and he figured it would just disappear and in
Yeah.
there. And so I brought it to their attention, and they said, I don't want to hear about it. And I said, well,
Yeah. That was a sign for you that he's probably using again
yeah, and
because of the ponding
yeah,
situation.
yeah,
Yeah. That
and
makes sense.
yeah, so I knew, and nobody would reach out to me
Yeah.
and talk to me about anything. And, even to
Mhm.
this day, his family they do not communicate with me at all. So
I'm so sorry.
it's
And then earlier this year, I think you were diagnosed with CPTSD, correct?
Yeah, that's when I
Can you explain what that is?
it's complex PTSD. It's,
Mhm.
PTSD is where it's like one major traumatic event happens to a person, where complex PTSD is where it is just years and years. It could happen from childhood up and through narcissistic relationships. It can be abusive relationships. And that's kind of what happened to me. I kind of followed my mom's
Yeah.
suit in choices of men. I hate to say that, but I did. I followed her. She tended to get with very abusive men, where I watched my
Mm,
mom get beat. Me and my stepbrother would watch her get beat on a
I'm
weekly
sorry.
basis because they were both alcoholics, but she was an alcoholic, horrible. So we don't have contact with each other. Me and my mom don't speak. So I don't really have that relationship.
I'm sorry. I know complex post CPTSD stands for complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So that can be triggered by emotional dysregulation, going through difficult relationships and all
Mhm.
these kind of things. What does it look like for you on a daily basis?
Well, I disassociate daily. I do find myself, because I am alone, primarily alone a lot. So I have a lot of time to sit and overthink. So overthinking is probably a huge disadvantage in my life because I will sit up for hours. I'm talking 3 or 4 in the morning and think of how can I make this different? How can I make that different? What can I do
Mhm.
to, and I'll get on the internet and I'll start looking, and it's just crazy stuff that is not even relevant to my night. Like it's that, and I
Mhm.
disassociate a lot. I tend to just drift off into nowhere. I call it la la land because I'm always telling people, I can be sitting in a crowd of people and I will literally just zone out and I won't hear anything going on around. And
And what are you doing when you're zoning off? Are you in your thoughts? Are you overthinking? Do you feel anxiety? What's going on in those moments?
it's just a lot of overthinking, and then I stay awake. Like I said, until I could be 4 in the morning and I'm still pondering on things that just have no relevancy to what's going on in that point in my life. And I dwell a lot on the what ifs because what people don't understand, I think, is especially when it comes to grief and stuff. And then when he left, I was supposed to go pick him up the next day. He said, I'm going to my mom and dad's. I'm picking up the clothes and the phone they got me, and I'm going to have you pick me up. And I said, okay, that's fine. And I looked him in the eyes that day and I said, I feel like this is going to be the last time I ever see you. And he told
Oh,
me it wouldn't be. And he kissed me and he told me he loved me and he left. And the last picture I have of him in my mind is him in the passenger seat of his dad's truck or his stepdad's truck, and he's driving off and he just waves at me. And that was the last image I have of him. And it's with no communication. And the bad part is that I know that he was a narcissistic person. I
mhm.
know that when we got together, probably 70% out of 100, he was using me in the beginning. I feel that he did grow to care about me and love me through the time we were together because he did do a lot of things for me that were irrelevant to, or maybe he did use it as a crutch. Like he was very artistic, so he would make me a lot of things. Just even painting.
How would how would you explain narcissism?
It's pretty much where somebody will lure you in to caring about them, loving them, uh, and then slowly but surely, they just start kind of unraveling the threads because it doesn't happen all at one time. It's slowly because in
Right.
the beginning, they're very loving, they're very
Almost like
romantic.
love bombing, right?
Yes, yeah, and that's what he did to me, and he was younger than me. He was in his 30s, so I guess it was kind of like, you know, I'm now out of this 15-year marriage and haven't really been with anybody in so long. And this guy, and it just was kind of an attraction. Plus, we had a lot in common. And he came to the house and basically never left. We
Hmm.
just were inseparable after that. And we were together 24/7. And slowly he started doing, like, we would be out in public and he would get mad. And instead of like yelling at me or doing anything that was conspicuous, he would grab a hold of my hands and he would like bend my fingers back to where they were literally about to touch the back of my hand. But he would do that so that other people couldn't see. But it starts out with those things. And the sad part about it is when you try to talk to their family or reach out to their family about things, it's a waste of time because 90% of the time that person is going to side with the other person. They're going to side with their family. And
Yeah.
that's what's going on even now because, and then when they leave, they make everybody think you are the biggest monster, which is where I'm at now.
Do you think that narcissistic people are manipulative? Do you think they manipulated their family in siding with them? Or do you think the family is just scared to see the ugly side and that's why they side with them?
I think it was both because they knew if they knew, I hate to say this because I know he's gone and I don't like speaking ill about people,
Hmm.
especially to everybody. He was a good guy. He had a very good heart. He was a very generous person, but there's always two sides to people, just like me. Yeah, I'm the bad guy now. So that's what I also have to deal with because there are days where I will sit here and think, what if it is me? What if it is me? What if I'm the narcissist? Am I a narcissist? I'm literally looking it up. Am I a narcissist? But I don't really think that I have traits because I do with the bare minimum. I don't ask for a whole lot. I don't think I do. I pretty
Yeah.
much do with what I have most of the time. And I would never go as far as moving in on someone and then once that whole family unraveled and fell apart, I just ran off. And that's what happened
Right.
in our situation. And I'm only telling the honest truth. I'm not trying to say it was all his fault because I know I was not the perfect person. I also have bipolar disorder, so my moods do have
Hmm.
a it's like, they fluctuate between either I'm down here or I'm up here. There's very rare I'm ever in the middle. So, I also have to battle the CPTSD and my bipolar, anxiety, and depression, which I think a lot of the times they were telling me I had depression and anxiety. I really think that was the CPTSD. I don't even think, which I know anxiety and depression are tied in with CPTSD. I really don't think it
Hmm.
was anxiety, depression, giving all these separate titles. I think it just kind of all bundled into
Right.
the bipolar and then adding on that the trauma stuff that I've dealt with. I think it's like kind of like when you take two, you're kind of just setting off a bomb sometimes. But I have
Yeah. Like
learned,
fuel on the fire.
yeah, I have learned to, since I have been on my own a lot more than I have, because my kids are all grown, but my two youngest, and they're 17 and 15. So I don't have any babies or anything. I have grandkids and stuff, but I'm primarily by myself. So I have done a lot of things to learn how to, I guess, an awakening, if you want to call it, or trying to shed my old self and become something new. But when you're battling with mental health, it makes it even harder to juggle everything. That's kind of where I'm at in
Absolutely.
my life, kind of juggling. Okay, I'm past the traumatic events. I know I'm in a safe spot. I'm not in
Hmm.
danger. I know that. But I'm now
Yeah.
learning to teach my brain, wake up. you're safe, because I think my brain's
Yeah.
still wired. You see, PTSD is a form of brain damage. They do say it's your whole brain rewires to become in
Interesting.
survival mode. It will
Mhm.
literally,
That makes sense.
it's the fight, flight, fawn,
Yeah.
and
Reaction.
yeah, that's the freeze is where I've pretty much been since he passed away, is that freeze
Yeah.
disassociation. Yeah.
Are you seeing a therapist? Are you working through your traumas with a therapist?
I'm not. I'm actually right now I don't have a car, so it makes it hard for
Mhm.
me to get rides back and forth. Like I said, I do have some of the somatic therapy workbooks that I had got, and I have been working in those. I do journal. I have tried to do
That's
the
good.
over the phone therapy. It
Yeah.
just really doesn't. I need to get out of here. Like I need to get out of the
Yeah.
house. You know what I mean? I don't think,
I can see that.
yeah, I need to get out. Yeah, I'm alone
Yeah.
way too much, and over the phone
Mhm.
really doesn't do me any good because I'm still stuck here at
I
home,
understand.
you know? Yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
waiting on disability right now. So it's kind of a waiting game, which
Mhm.
I'm knocking on wood. It should be another maybe 2 months. And then I'm going to be getting a
Okay.
vehicle. And so I have my goals and I kind of working towards everything, but it's just a really slow process. And yeah,
I hear you.
it's a slow
Yeah.
process.
And being home alone so much, especially when you're dealing with depression,
Yeah.
can just be a trigger. But you said you're journaling, which is a good thing.
Mhm.
And I hope that's helpful. Have you identified any triggers for yourself?
Yeah. The main trigger I have is noise. Noise, oh, it literally makes my chest tighten just thinking about noise. I know it sounds silly. It's even if kids are having fun and they scream really loud, my body tenses up, and it's that trigger that I guess it's that defense. Like, and I tend to keep my upper body very stiff all the time. And I kept asking my doctor, what is
Yeah.
going on? And they just said that it's because I guess I feel comfortable like that. I feel protected maybe when I clench my upper body, which I never knew was even a
Mhm.
thing until I started feeling it in my shoulders and in my chest, where I was holding it so tight. My muscles were like I was like tensing all my muscles. So it doesn't
I
just
get
affect
that. Yeah. The
you.
physical reaction.
Yeah, there's so many different things. There's the physical, the
Mhm.
emotional, and
Mhm.
a lot of people will look at it like, well, you don't look sick or you don't look like anything's wrong with you. And that's the hardest way to try to get people like, I can't help that. Like just because I can physically sit
Yeah.
here and talk to you doesn't mean that I'm going to go off the
Yeah.
rest of my day and be skipping down the road. You know what I mean? It's just not how
Right.
life is,
Yeah.
And
Would you
so
say that's the biggest misconception that people can see from the outside, that you're dealing with mental disorders and mental struggles?
yeah, definitely. It's a lot. If you can't see it,
Mm.
they don't believe it. It's like you can tell them I
Right.
have this going on, and they're just like, well, you look completely fine. Like you can walk, you can talk,
Right.
you can lift things up.
Mm.
You should be able to do whatever you want
Yeah.
to do. And some days I can't, I don't even want to get out of bed. Like I lay here
Yeah.
and dread having to get up and even face the day. I'm like, if I can just sleep all day,
Right.
I'm good. But I don't do that. I try not to do that. I try not to sleep all the time. I really don't, but I don't sleep that great at night. So if I'm sleeping during the day, it's probably because I didn't sleep at nighttime. And it's not even from being on my
And then it's a
phone.
vicious cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And it's constant. And you can explain that to a lot of people all day long and they'll just be like, it just makes no sense. Like I've been told that. Like it makes no sense. Like you should be able to, if you want to have a good day, you should be able to have a good day. And I'm like, that is not how your brain works. Like I could wake up and say, hey, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have a great day today, and it's gonna probably be the worst one I ever had. It's you can't talk
Yeah.
yourself out of feelings or out of emotion or out of
Right.
you can't. It's just not possible. It's just not. I
It's
mean,
not. It's very difficult.
yeah,
It's the voice in your head talking to you. So you cannot talk to your own voice in your head and reason with that voice, right? It's so
yeah,
hard to snap yourself out of it. Have you found anything that helps you regulate in those moments to snap out of it, to feel a relief?
Yeah, I do a lot of like people laugh at me, like, well, especially my sons. Like I do weird stuff. Like I like crafts. So like I'll go
I love
and
that.
pick up like a pine cone. And I was like, that looks like a pineapple. And I said, I'm just gonna save that for a day that I just need something to distract me. And I did. I went and I
Mhm,
painted that pineapple, or I painted that pine cone like a pineapple. And I said, it I was having a day that I needed something to take my mind off of certain stuff, and I did. I went ahead and painted that, and that's the things I have. Like I have my diamond dots. I like to read. Staying busy is
mhm.
probably the best way that I have learned how to cope with stuff, is just by keeping my mind occupied.
Yeah.
And being like we said, being alone, it's kind of hard, but that's why I try to find art projects or a book or anything I can find to do, to keep my brain kind of centered on that and get off of
Mhm,
all the stuff
mhm.
that it really doesn't need to even have it. I don't need to be thinking about what I should have done 20 years ago. That shouldn't even be something I'm
Right.
thinking about today. You know,
You can't change it anymore.
Yeah, it shouldn't. I mean, yeah, everything matters that happens in your life, but it shouldn't be something I'm sitting here today and I'm thinking, oh, well, I should have done this. Like, why didn't I?
Yeah,
Not going to
yeah.
help me today.
Is there anything that people can do to help you? Like, what advice would you give your sons, for example, how to deal with you in those moments?
Probably just, I think listening. I think with me and my older son, he comes and stays with me, and he knows how anxiety and stuff feels. He has it as well, so
Mm,
he kind of knows what I'm going through per se, like with the depression, anxiety, and stuff. I would say patience
mhm.
is probably the best thing you can try to do. I know it's uh healing doesn't happen overnight, and and I know everybody says like, oh, well, I'm in the healing process. And I've been told by a lot of people the healing process really doesn't ever end. You're kind of in that healing
Right.
process because there are a lot of times where I have felt like, wow, feeling pretty good lately. And then it's one thing
Mhm.
that can just ruin my whole day. And it's like, that was it, and that's just how it happened,
Yeah,
you know? So
yeah. Mhm.
not really much you can do about it. It just happens. So,
Yeah. Do you do any physical activities or anything physically that helps you a little bit? Like, do you go for walks? Or, sometimes people that have severe anxiety, they
mhm.
do the tapping thing that helps them. Is there anything that you recommend that has worked for you?
Uh, yeah. Well, before we moved over here where we're at now, we used to have a really, really long driveway. So I was walking about a mile a day. And then since about
Mhm.
summertime, which I'm embarrassed to say this, I really haven't done much of anything. And it really didn't start getting bad until it got cold. Once it started getting cold, which was probably about 3 weeks ago, a month ago, I've really not done a whole lot. And it's embarrassing. I do help, with things around here and stuff. I don't like just sleep all day. You know what I mean? But I used to do
Mhm.
gardening. When I had my house, I love gardening. I love not like growing stuff really, but I liked doing my yard. I liked mowing.
Yeah,
it sounds silly, but gardening is a huge way. I called it my therapy because I used to love going out in the yard.
it is.
I really don't have that here now. So that's ever since I got my apartment a couple years ago, when I was living over there, I didn't have a yard to take care of. So I kind of lost all that and I lost the interest. And so now it's almost like I just have nothing left. I'm just kind of like
Mhm.
rebuilding from the beginning again. Yeah,
Yeah,
but yeah, I try to keep busy. Gardening and reading and stuff like that has been 2 things that have kept me sane. But yeah,
I
I'm just
understand. And I'm sorry you're going through a rough time, but I
thank
tell
you.
you what, just you saying that, I'm sure that helps a lot of people. just the advice to give, go
Mhm,
for walks, try to do gardening, try to be
mhm,
outside in nature. If that
yeah.
helps you, that might help somebody else, you
Being
know?
outside is
And I know
huge.
you're very spiritual and your TikTok is also focused a little bit on
Mhm,
spirituality.
yeah.
What from the spiritual world has helped you a little bit?
I think just learning how to ground myself. I know, people think it's silly, but even if you take your socks and shoes off and even just sit in the yard with your feet in the grass, I do that a lot. And I did it more when it was warmer. It's kind of chilly now, but just
Yeah.
doing that, just sitting, I would literally just go sit out here when nobody was outside or everybody was doing their own thing. And I would just sit out and just lay there. I would just lay out there in the
Mhm.
yard. And it sounds silly, but it does bring a lot of peace. So nature's really always been a huge thing for me. I love water.
Yeah.
That's a calming thing for me. I love nature. And so I thought, it sounds silly. Like some people make fun of me because I'm like, I got to get my moon water ready for tonight, and it's just things like that. I feel like I try to just bring in a positive energy, which I feel like sometimes backfires on me because I'm like, I feel like there's just more negative coming in than positive when I do that. But I do just try to be more positive, and I tell people nowadays, I'm like, I really just don't have time for the negativity because all it does is put me into a negative mood. So one thing I can
Exactly.
say about the healing is you have got to cut toxic people out of your life. Because if you have
Yes.
toxic people in your life trying to be a support system to you, or in my case, my family really isn't a huge support system. There's a lot that goes on. That can be a whole new episode on that, but I'm not trying to overextend your thing. But my life, my kids have told me before, they're like, Mom, you need to write a book because somebody would be interested to read what's happened to you. And I'm like, I don't think anybody's going to care what happened in my life. And I'm like, I have had, like I said, crazy things that I've told people and they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, I've put up with a lot, which I know other people have put a lot up with a lot for me too. So when you're bipolar, you're
Yeah.
not always the happiest go lucky person.
I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love that you're journaling. So you're pretty much writing down a lot already.
Yeah.
Do you do a gratitude journal as well? Do you do anything like that?
Yeah, it's like that somatic therapy thing. It has a lot to do with like how you're feeling that day, what you can kind of do to what is it like is it the five, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like you pick 5 things that you can like see and then 4 things you can touch, things like that. I've actually started like
Oh, nice.
incorporating that. So I do a lot of that stuff. Like I said, I've
Mhm.
been reading and then my son has like the teen somatic books where I'm trying to teach him or well not I'm trying to teach us, I guess, on how to deal with like certain triggers, how you can do to calm down. Like
Mhm.
you said, the tapping. I do like my chest. I do. If I'm getting overwhelmed, like having a panic attack or I'm feeling like I'm about to, because I can usually feel when that stuff's about to happen. Like I can feel
I
myself
know. Yeah.
getting worked up or my body. So I've learned to kind of check, like, hey, how am I doing today? Because you have to do that kind of mental check in. Because if you don't know how you're doing that day, how do you know how to respond to that day?
Mhm. I was just going to say, one of my therapists has recommended to me to journal as well. So I'm
Yeah.
writing a journal every day of everything that has happened to me, but also
Mhm.
my thoughts and feelings of that day, just to get it off my chest a little bit, which I've the same problem as you. I overthink at night and I don't sleep well and I
Mhm.
have insomnia. And then during the day, I'm super tired and all that. So by
Yeah.
trying to write all those thoughts out, or even just taking those 5 minutes of writing it, and allowing
Mhm.
myself the time to think and to feel helps a little bit, I must say. And then with the gratitude, she suggested to me at the end of my journaling just to write down 3 things that I'm grateful for that day. just to
Mhm.
end on a positive note a little bit, like I'm positive, like I'm grateful for the sun. I'm grateful for my dog. I'm grateful
Mhm.
for even having a roof over my head or for having work or whatever it might be that day. Just
Yeah.
so like almost like a yoga session. You know how you end a yoga
Yeah.
session with like namaste? So almost like that. And that helps me a little bit. I do must
Yeah.
say though, I don't suffer from bipolar. So I'm not sure if that would be something that's helpful for you as well. But,
Mhm.
it can hurt to try. Maybe one day might help, the other day not so much.
It's like I said, it's a hit or miss. You don't ever know. But yeah,
Yeah.
journaling is very, very helpful. And it's always helped me. Like it went on for about a year. And I know it sounds silly, but for the whole year after I found out that my husband passed away, I wrote him
Mhm.
every single night. Like I wrote
I love
him,
that.
it didn't matter how long or short it was. It could have been one sentence one night and 5 or 6 pages the next night. But that was almost like my journaling. It was almost like I was talking to him and
Mhm.
venting to him and about him, about what he did. It was kind of like my way of communicating with him, but also venting and getting myself regulated to where I'm not so upset or, mostly think it was to just keep my sanity because I didn't want to face it in the beginning that, okay, now I've got to do this a second time. And this was
Yeah.
not in my plans for, I was just kind of lost, and I still am lost because there's answers that I'll
Mhm.
probably never get, and
Right.
you have to be able to manage that to say, okay, you've got to move on. You're not going to ever get the answers that you want. It's never going to
Right.
happen. You're never going to get an explanation for why this person did this to you or that person did that to you. You're probably never going to know. And
Right.
by me sitting here every day beating myself up about, what happened. I'm slowly learning, I still have an issue with it, that it's not doing me any good. I have
Mhm.
got to start not letting go because I know I'm never going to let go of anything, really, but I can learn to live with it. And that's what I think my hardest part's been is learning to live with it. Before I was trying to fix it
Right.
by going to the doctor, telling them, "Oh gosh, I got this," but my anxiety's so bad. And now
Mhm.
I run to my books or my art supplies or my journal before, and I hate to say it, but before I go to my primary doctor, not like a psychologist or anything,
Right.
but I do try to manage it better. Before, I was literally calling my doctor all the time. Like it was
Mhm.
getting so ridiculous that I would have it in my mind that I was dying every day. I've had some health issues that put me scared to death. And after that, I think that was something that really put in my head, like if I have a pain in my chest, I'm having a heart attack. Silly
Mhm.
stuff
I'm the
like
same
that.
way.
Yeah, I know that it's not true,
Mhm.
but to try
Hypochondriac.
to try to tell your brain it ain't true is like talking to a wall because you're not getting through to it at
Right.
all. So yeah,
Yeah. I
but
get
yeah,
that.
therapy is good, I think, for anybody at all. I think that really helps anybody dealing with anything to sit and write it
Yeah.
down because you can write down anything and everything going on in your head, and there's nobody there to judge. There's nobody there to say
Exactly.
you're wrong for feeling that way. And a lot of times that I noticed is my feelings were always they were never validated. They were never valid. My feelings were
Mhm.
either I was too sensitive or I was too quick to because I wouldn't react at first, but once I would get so freaking mad, that's when life became unraveled. Like if everything was good, like if we were okay with everything that was going on, everything was great. But once you said, I have a problem with this, life
Mhm.
is over for everybody's. But you just have to learn to manage your life so much differently when you don't have that toxic stuff going on in your life anymore. So
Right.
it's all over and
I think you're such a strong person and you've learned so much about yourself on this journey called life. And I think you're
Mhm.
coping well with, the means you have. And I think
Thank
it's
you.
very great that you found journaling for yourself helps and keeping
Mhm.
busy helps. Like you have to cut yourself a little bit more slack and give yourself a little bit more grace. I think you're doing amazing. And just for you coming
Thank
on
you.
here on the podcast, and I know you're going to be helping so many other people with your TikTok, with this podcast episode.
Thank
I'm
you.
sure a lot of people will identify with some of the things you mentioned in this episode.
Mhm.
It could be the mental health issues. It could be the trauma you went to. I'm sure a lot of
Mhm.
people have
Yeah.
similar experiences. What advice would you give somebody who is struggling with mental health or who is dealing with trauma or anything we mentioned in this episode?
Well, I know that I was told this a million times. If you're in an abusive or toxic relationship, I know that I was told this so many times. Leave. It's
Mm,
the simplest word. Leave. I had 4 children and I had no job, I had no income, and I had no family to turn to. I
yeah,
left. I had to leave. When you know for a fact that somebody has looked you in the eye that has told you, I love you, and they can turn to you and say, I'm going to kill you if you leave me, or or they that's not love. And I wish I would have listened to people back then. Now, and
mm,
I was told this exact same thing. And then I sat there and I'm like, no, I can change them. I can change that. I can do this different.
right.
It turns you into me. And I always tell people, you do not want to be me because, I unfortunately don't look at myself as strong. I look at myself, I did put myself in situations where I know I can say I should have left 5 years before I did. But I stayed because, for one, I was scared. I was young and I had kids. I had no job. I was literally told by the man that said he loved me, you're too fat and ugly for another man to want you. So
Yeah,
I basically sat in thinking that, okay, hey, I gotta just stay, and that's what I did. And
yeah.
I know now that wasn't the choice that I should have made.
You endured so much. And it doesn't matter how long you stayed, you were gathering your energy and power to get out of there. It makes you a
Mhm.
strong person to have eventually left, and you made it. Look at you. You're living, you're healthy, you have great sons,
Mhm.
you're fighting this thing called life and you're succeeding in it. So I want you to, because I've been through the same. I've been through an abusive relationship. I've been married to an abusive husband, and I stayed too long too. And I could sit here all day long and beat myself up. And you know what?
Mhm.
He brought a dark side out in me that I didn't know I had. And
Oh,
thinking back, I still get shivers, and I hate that person that I was. I hate the
mhm.
things I did, and I take accountability for it. But I'm also saying he brought it out in me. The dark
Mhm.
passenger or whatever you want to call it. So I'm
Yeah.
not proud of those moments, but I can say I'm proud of myself for getting myself out of it. And
Yeah,
I
me
want to say the
too.
same to you. You can be proud of yourself, how you're dealing with everything. You're a strong person. You're a strong woman. I really think so.
Thank you.
Marta, tell my bitch besties where they can find you on TikTok if they want to follow along your journey, but also all the inspirational posts you always put out there. That's what drew me to it.
I'm on the Healing Coven, and that would be my TikTok. It's mostly just all mental health. I throw in some
Um,
strangers thing stuff and just some odds and end things that I enjoy, but mostly I try to cover mental health. But I'm sorry you had
yeah,
to go through that too, because I know being in a toxic, abusive relationship does turn us into people and then when we come out of it and we start healing, we're like, where is that person I used to be? But there again, I don't want to be that person I used to be
yeah,
because it's not
exactly.
really who I am. So you're right. It
Yeah.
does bring out the worst in us. And then we do look like horrible people when we finally do
Mhm.
just get fed up. So and like you said, it's good advice on the journaling and, even just reaching out to somebody and talking to them. And it could be people like me.
Absolutely.
I always open my inbox to anybody who needs to talk. I do try to address everything. There are some days I don't get on TikTok because I'm just having a blah day and I'm watching TikTok just isn't something I want to do when I'm just but then I'm a
Right.
bad doom scroller when I'm having one of those days too. So it's like, it could be here or there. So, but
Could be
yeah.
a curse and a blessing at the same time. I get it. But that's very sweet of you. So people can reach out to you, chat with you. You know, my inbox is always open, and I hope you and I will stay in touch. I really
Oh,
enjoyed
yeah.
this conversation. I'm so grateful for you for opening up your story to me and the Bitch Besties and for shedding
Yeah,
some light into
absolutely.
mental health. I know this was a really heavy episode, so I really, really am grateful for you to come on. I still believe you're a
Thank
strong
you for
woman. I
having
can't wait
me.
to stay in touch with you. And I just want to thank you for sharing your story, coming on here. And thanks to the Bitch Besties for listening. Marta,
Thank
please stay on for one
you.
more second, but I say bye to the Bitch Besties, and
Okay.
I'll see you next week.
All
Bye.
right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
That was it for today. Thank you so much for listening. And if you are as excited and opinionated as Peanut and me, please give us a follow on Instagram at the Judgy Bitch Pod. And don't forget, please also tell everybody you know about this new podcast so they come and follow us as well. We would much appreciate it. Would you like to be part of it? Sure, go ahead. Send us a DM with your feedback, your hot takes, and your unapologetic opinions. We might read them next time. And last but not least, don't forget, please follow, review, and rate wherever you listen to this podcast. See you next week. Cheers, bitches.